I had a guy bring a yew bow for me to repair. It's made by Gunther, an Austrian guy who comes to the ILAA roving shoots. I've had staves off him. Anyhow, what's happened is it's popped the handle. Now, unfortunately, a tiny bit splintered off here. But if I can saw that off the grip and glue it back in, and then what I'll probably do is insert a thin layer, probably ash, because I haven't got enough yew that wide, just to clean up the faces again, because by the time I've cleaned up this face and that face, I'll have lost some material. Anyway, I'll sort that out, glue it on, and what I'll probably do to prevent it happening again is a fix I've done before on a similar but heavier bow, and that is take a tiny bit of wood off there and bind it with linen thread all the way down there, which is then soaked in low viscosity super glue, which will just make it so the two bits can't pop apart. That'll keep me out of mischief. And actually, considering it more closely, I might just clean up the surfaces. They don't make that well. It rocks slightly, the grip. I think it was glued with epoxy. If I can clean the surfaces back to good clean wood and re-glue it as it is, I think the linen thread wrap will do the job. It will save a lot of effort. And not only that, the problem is with cleaning right back and adding a slat, I'm liable to remove parent wood off the bow itself, which will weaken it, so it's, you know, tricky. I shall mull it over. At this edge it does raise up slightly, just rises up a little, but at this edge it's dead flat onto the wood, which makes it a bit awkward. So the limb's in danger of having a thin spot there, so I've got to build it up with something, but we'll see how we go. Anyhow, next step, glue in this little sliver and then proceed from there. There, I've glued in that little sliver of wood, and I've cleaned up and flattened the face of the riser block, or the grip, whatever you want to call it. But now you'll see where we're effectively missing wood, so that's why I need the extra, you know, thin slat of something, albeit I might use ash, but I've got some nice Iroko which might do, that would give like a dark contrasting stripe, but I think the ash will, you know, the colour will be similar to the sapwood, so it will, you know, match in nicely. But that's where we are at the minute. Well, here's my slat of ash that I've tried to shape to blend in with the sanded area. Obviously allowed a bit of extra width here and there for sort of alignment, but I think that fits pretty well. And then we'll have the other bit on top of it like that, so that should look quite pretty. And I've feathered it in as much as possible to match, because once it's glued, the danger is as I try and feather in that area, I'm going to dig into the wood here and create a weak point, which I don't want to. Same here. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a step, you know, there's a bit of a shoulder here, but I'll straighten it all out, blend it in where I can. I think that's got the makings. I'll probably glue the slat down first before I glue the second bit on, because it can all slither around and be a right pain. Try and do too much at once and, you know, it's like trying to juggle eels. Now a little trick I'm going to do here is I'm going to glue in a couple of little pegs. They don't go all the way through, they just go into the heartwood of the U, just to help locate it, because where I've feathered it in, I've gone pretty accurately to you know, to the main limb, and I don't want it to go and slip and then just misalign. So a couple of little pegs. It's just, you know, one of these bits of off an old roller blind, bit of split bamboo, sort of thing I use for mixing up my glue. They'll just pop in there just to keep it lined up. In fact, you can see that's how far it goes in, just enough to line it up. So I'll get that glued. I'll use my Titebond 3 for a change, just I can't be asked to mix up Cascamite. And I'll clamp it, a couple of G-clamps. I'll maybe add some more, you know, with just sort of firm to light pressure, because there's actually a gap underneath the bow. It's clamped down at either end because it had a bit of deflex, but that's to sort of, well, with this section on, it should take some deflex out. I mean, that's why it had popped the grip before, you know, it flexed too much. So I might as well try and glue it up all back flat how it should be. Anyhow, we'll see. There, that's got it clamped up. Now I've only gone for a sort of light finger pressure just to sort of nip it up with my fingers, because I don't want to clamp it down because there's a gap under there. I'll just end up distorting it. So I'm just trying to get a nice even sort of light firm pressure, not clamping it down rock hard. Well, that's it with the rubber strapping undone. Just needs an awful lot of cleaning up now. Should look quite pretty when it's done. Now I've gone round it with a cabinet rasp, cleaning it up a bit better. Obviously it's very tricky trying to blend it in here without touching onto the parent wood, but you can see it's starting to look quite pretty. I'll take off some of this excess thickness here, because I've probably added in probably twice or 3 times as much as I needed to, so it feels rather deep there, but I can take some of this off. And the guy said he felt he didn't want quite such a sculptured handle anyway. Yeah, coming on. Trying to blend this in, the varnish actually helps. It's a sort of hard polyurethane finish, so I can almost skate the fine side of the cabinet rasp along there and then let it bite into this wood. So, and I've still got a ridge there I can feel with my thumbnail, but it's getting there. Slow and steady wins the day. Now it's cleaned and blended a lot more now. And I've made a very slight groove there, just as a location for the start of the binding, because you don't want it slipping up into this area. It's not enough to constitute a discontinuity or a weak spot. Next thing is probably clean off the surface varnish, get everything sanded, do the whipping and then refinish it. And this is a hard polyurethane varnish. I'll probably just do my usual Danish oil, as I don't have any polyurethane. Something else I noticed, there's a bit of a glaring thin spot in this lower limb just here. Really obvious this side. Well, to some extent it's excess thickness here. Look at this side, doesn't look so bad, but again you can still see this excess thickness here. So I might ease that thickness off a little bit. I can't do anything to stiffen that. Well, I could glue something on the belly, but I'm not going to be messing around with that. But just to ease off that thick point might help. Basically, I'll get the grip done. Well, no, I might even get it strung before I finish the grip. But it wants another day or two to let the glue go off 100%. because they're if the glue's under stress, well, if it's not a stressed joint, you can use it in, I don't know, 12 hours or something. 24 hours for a stressed joint, but better to leave it another 24 after that. And I think we can agree a bow is certainly stressed. So I might pop it on the tiller and have a look. Just easing off that a little bit there won't hurt. Just rasp off the belly, just a little scallop out of there. Well, that's it, pretty much done. I've run out of low viscosity super glue, which I soak into the linen thread. But you can see I had enough just to touch it every now and again to stop it unravelling as I did the whipping. Obviously it needs the old finish taking off and refinishing, but that basically gives you an idea of what the repair looks like. I'll pop it on the tiller, I'll give it another 24 hours, get it on the tiller and see if it needs a tweak at all, but that's pretty much it.